Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 7's Norse. So we're taking a look at every team in Blood Bowl, specifically looking at 7s, which is my favourite way to play, and looking at some of the best rosters that you can get for 600,000 gold pieces, which is whereabouts 7s is normally played. So whether you're running League, whether you're running a tournament, it's normally going to be about 600k, and we're going to have a look and see just what you can get for Norse. Okay, so Norse is a tier 1 team, and they are a great team. And they've just had a pretty big update. So this is the Norse 2022 version, so this is the newest of the Norse rosters. So there's a couple of things have changed. Now, how they impact 7s, let's talk about. So strengths, they still have all of these brilliant strengths in the Norse team. So Ulfwereners are strength 4 and frenzy and movement 6 and agility 4+. So agility a little bit average, but movement speed of 6 is brilliant. These guys being strength 4 and having frenzy means that they are mostly going to be making a 2-die block followed by another 2-die block. That is what I call a 4-die block. And in 7s, that's absolutely huge, because you start throwing that many block dice at players, those players that you're throwing the block dice at aren't going to be around, and a dude lost in 7s is a massive impact to the team. The rest of the team basically has block. So the linemen and the berserkers, who are basically jump up block frenzy version of the linemen, have got block. And they've also got thick skull now as well, which means they're going to stay on the pitch a little bit more often. Block means that they are way more consistent, and in no reroll land like Blood Bowl 7's, being able to make that 1-die block, that 2-die block, and being able to be extra secure is a fantastic boon. And now they've got thick skull means that they are going to be knocked out less than, what, half the time? Really, really useful. And we didn't have this listed in the last roster, but this is just massive. So big guys in 7s have the potential to be the massive, right? Now the Yeti is strength 5, frenzy, movement 5, and with claws has got a huge potential there for you to be like, right, go and delete that guy. Potentially not as good as the Minotaur, because let's face it, what is, because the Minotaur does have horns, but trust me when I say a Yeti with claws throwing a 4-die block. Remember, movement 5 covers the majority of the pitch in 7s. Having a Yeti to be your big burly juggernaut, spoiler alert, is going to be a massive, massive strength to this team. So weaknesses, on the other hand, low armor. Everybody on this roster, with the exception of the Yeti and the Ulfwereners, who are armor 9+, everybody else is armor 8+, with the exception of the Beerbor, who basically doesn't have armor at all. So low armor is a vulnerability. We've already kind of talked about that. The fat thick skulls there is going to be pretty helpful to you. Medium speed. The fastest player on this team is the new player, the Valkyrie, which is movement 7. Now that player does not come with dodge, does have agility on a normal, so if you've got any skills floating around, can get dodge. But movement 7 is the fastest you've got. Everybody else is basically movement 6. And no sure hand, so there's very few ball handling skills in this roster. The Valkyrie does have pass, does have catch, which is actually quite important. You're going to get those rerolls for free when you need them. However, not as reliable, not as ubiquitous as sure hands, so a bit of a watch out there. If you do have a reroll on your roster, save it for handling the ball. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the rosters. Like I said, we're going for 600k. If you're going to play in a tournament and you get a little bit more cash, then the world is your oyster. Most 7s tournaments will be sitting at 600,000, the same as the League version. And if you are playing a League, it's going to be just the same for you. So the mixed bench is where we're going to start. You get 4 linemen, 2 Ulfwereners, who are our strength 4 frenzy pieces with movement 6. They're your blitzers. They're your linebackers. They are there to just beat up other stuff. Strength 4 in 7s with that amount of movement will cover a lot of the pitch and will give you a plenty of brawl, which lines up nicely with the fact that all 4 of your linemen have block as well, so you've got a ton of combat power here. Now we've added 2 of the new positionals which have replaced the catcher, the Valkyries. Now the Valkyries have themselves a ton of skills, which in 7s is even more impactful than in 11s. Pass and catch are going to come up every now and again. Being able to make a quick pass on a 3+ with a reroll is going to be a stretch play, okay? It's going to give you that ability. The Valkyrie having movement 7 already means that movement 7 plus a 3-square quick pass of 3++ is 10 squares of movement, and when you are playing on a 7s pitch, that is a lot of the pitch. Now, this player also has Strip Ball, which is a bit of a free skill. Now, in 7s, it's very difficult to cage up, so you're normally going to be able to find a way to get to the ball carrier. Strip Ball, popping that ball out on a push or a pow, is going to be massive every now and again. And they've also got Dauntless, which makes them one of the most flexible players in the game. So they can, if you want. Bear in mind, they don't start with block, they don't start with dodge, they don't start with wrestle, they don't start with any combat or survival skills. You can have a go at somebody bigger than you when you need to with a Valkyrie. It makes them gutsy. Now, this roster here comes in bang on 600k. There's a couple of things you can do to twist. You can't afford an Apothecary, but you can play with some of your players. You can drop each of those Valkyries or each of those Ulfwarreners and chuck in a Berserker instead. And we'll have a look at some different rosters here, but what you can do is drop a lineman and a Valkyrie and take a Yeti. But basically what this roster gives you is a bench. It gives you a spare lineman, and on defense you can play one Valkyrie, on offense you can play both and go for that maximum scoring threat. Now, when it comes to skills in 7s, League 7s as per Death Zone is a random skill kind of affair. So sometimes it's going to go well for you, sometimes it's not. The best way to play 7s, in my opinion, if you're playing a league, is to have resurrection and incremental skills. So one skill after every game. It just helps build up that story of your team without your team being completely ransacked. I think it's a better way to play 7s. It's a bit more chill, but if you want to play League 7s, be prepared for random skills. So the lineman, sure hands, is not bad. You've got those Valkyries, who are going to be pretty good scoring threats. Having a sure hands lineman is never a bad thing. Kick is amazing in 7, so probably the top skill there. And guard on a double, if you can get it, is always going to come in handy. Now, one thing to mention about the linemen is they're not the scoring threats they once were, because they now have the drunkard rule, which means that when they go for it on a 3+ and not a 2+. So when you're making those rush actions, they are twice as likely to fail. And I played a game tonight at club, and the drunkard rule is a real rule you need to be aware of, because 2s are going to come up. Okay, so the linemen are great. They can take a bunch of mixed skills, but they've already got block, which in 7s is so important. And then you've got the Ulfwarreners, who, quite frankly, take block is a great place for them to be. But because you have that strength, you've got that ability to throw 2 dice. 2 dice without block, I believe, is slightly better than 1 dice with block. So you can skip that and take Mighty Blow. Because if you've got 2 Ulfwarreners, like we've got here, that are absolutely pounding away, 2 die block, follow up, 2 die block, 2 die block, follow up, 2 die block, and when you get that dude on the ground, when you smack him into the ground, having Mighty Blow +1 is going to help keep them there. And if you can get 1 or 2 removals in a game of 7s, it will end that game. So I love Mighty Blow over block on an Ulfwarrener, but it is literally a Brexit margin for me. Now, guard is great. They've got strength access, but tackle is also really useful. A cheeky bit of dodge in 7s can be a really spark player, so having a strength 4 frenzy tackle piece will definitely give you a heck of a safety. So if you're planning this roster, if you're going to a tournament and you've got 2 or 3 skills, then this is a tier 1 team, so you're quite likely to have a low amount of skills. 1 guy with tackle is a great thing. 1 guy with Mighty Blow is a great thing. If you want to go full offense, then 2 Mighty Blow is great. But if you want to go consistency, then block on your Ulfwarreners. It's never bad. And then there are the Valkyries. Now, we've already talked about the Valkyries being potentially some of the most malleable players there. They've got Strip Ball Dauntless. They can fight. They've got block and pass and catch, which means they can maneuver the ball around. So it's up to you which direction you take. Dodge, sure hands, block, wrestle. It's a great combination of skills. Dodge is going to be great. And when you play with the Valkyries, you're going to wish they had dodge. Block combos really well with Strip Ball. Well, block combos really well with Dauntless. Wrestle combos really well with Strip Ball. Dodge combos really well with wanting to move around. And sure hands combos really well with pass, because you build yourself a bit of a thrower. So have a think about how you want to run this team and this player. I think dodge on a Valkyrie is a really useful thing. They're the fastest player on your team. They've got that pass ability, and they've got that catch, which means you can hand off, and it's going to be a 3++. And then if they take a cheeky dodge into the open field, it's going to be 3++, which really gives you a big window. If you've got 2 Valks on this team, you've got a real massive stretch play there of 17 squares without any rushes, and the drunkard rule only applies to the linemen. The other thing you can do with the Valkyries is take leader. They get passing access. So you can take that leader to get that reroll onto your team. But for me, the Valkyries are great players, and this is a heck of a mixed team. Now, a slight twist to that roster is basically dropping both the Valkyries and taking both Berserkers instead. So this roster comes in at 590, they're 5k cheaper, and it is max frenzy. You've got 4 linemen, so you've got a bit of bench, and then you've got 2 Ulfwereners who are strength 4 and frenzy, and you've got 2 Berserkers who, with jump up in 7s, is going to be really good. It gives you +3 squares basically. You can get up for free, and you can also block from the ground, so that keeps the Berserkers in the fight, and when they've got frenzy, you kind of want to be capitalizing on that. One thing I forgot to mention in the last list, but is very appropriate here, the linemen have passing access as well, but on a double. So if you do get a double for your team, you can sneak a leader onto one of your linemen, which makes those linemen really flexible. Anyway, on the Berserkers, they get strength access, so Mighty Blow is a great one. Tackle is really good as well. Having Frenzy and Block is going to be really useful. And Guard, because they get that strength access, is going to be great to get on your team. 2 Berserkers, one with Guard, the other one doing Frenzy work, can be really important. Now, you've got 2 Ulfwereners who are rocking that Strength 4 Frenzy as well. So this is really just a block more roster. It gives you 8 dudes, so when one of them dies, because one of them is going to die, you've got a spare in the pack, and you've got a ton of different skills to take. But if you put 2 blocks on the Ulfwereners, everybody's got block. 2 with Frenzy Strength 3, 2 with Frenzy Strength 4. Massive, super heavy hitting roster. This more consistent than Khorne, but if you want to run a more consistent frenzy based roster, this is the one, because block, strength 4, it's just an absolute dice fest. But when you're throwing loads of frenzy blocks, having a reroll can be really important. So my favourite parts of the Norse team are the Ulfwereners. Not a surprise there. Strength 4 Frenzy is a great piece of player. So 2 Ulfwereners reroll. The 2U reroll build in this edition, 5 linemen, 2 Ulfwereners. That's your starting 7. And 1 reroll brings you to it. Okay, you've got 5 dudes with block, you've got 2 dudes with strength 4. As they develop, either Mighty Blow is going to be great for removal, or block is going to be great for consistency. Those spare skills that you don't tend to get a lot of, but you may end up with something that you can chuck a leader on a lineman for your second reroll, take sure hands to give you that ball carrying ability. There's a ton of flexibility there. And the cool thing is with this edition is they get access to a beer bore as well. Now, why is that important? Well, for 20k, you can't really get anything else, okay? You can get an assistant coach or something like that. Not massively worth it. What you can do is have that beer bore. Now, the beer bore has this area of effect that basically says at the end of your opponent's turn, if there's a dude on the ground that is prone but not stunned within 3 squares of a standing beer bore, on a 5+, they get back up. Not what you want to be doing in 7s, because people tend to spread out more, so you don't have that collection of players. However, for 20k, you get a cheap dude that can run in and put the boot in, or use Dodge and Stunty and Titchy to just be that support where you need it to. So having a beer bore is better than not having a beer bore. Having 8 players and one of them being a strength 1 little dodgy Titchy dude is better than not having it at all. And every now and again, that beer jump up ability is really going to come off. Not going to be super popular in 7s, but is quite amusing. Now, skills wise, they have nothing on primary. Their secondary ability is agility. If for some reason that beer ball gets a secondary and it's a skill and you get to choose, sidestep would be excellent, but otherwise I wouldn't worry too much about it. Maybe sneaky git's quite good on the beer ball as well if you wanted to be fouling, but the beer ball is there to be an extra body for when you don't have one left, and every now and again it's going to help keep one of your other guys in the fight. Now, this roster comes in bang on 600k. The best way to spend a 20k a little leftover cash is definitely on a beer ball. Now, we haven't talked about the Yeti yet. I love big guys in 7s. There's a bit more space for them, and just being able to delete a player is such a bigger swing. So let's talk about how you can run the Yeti in 7s. So the Yeti Mix roster comes in at 595, 3 linemen, 2 Ulfwereners. Still want them on the pitch. Now, because the Ulfwereners are 105k, you can downgrade them to a Berserker or a Valkyrie as you want, basically. So if you want to lose a little bit of that frenzy, you can take a Valkyrie for the bull skills. If you want to keep... No, I can't see any benefit of taking the Berserker over the Ulfwerener. They've got block, so block, strength 3 may be more to your taste. Strength 4 block, I think, is better. They're the same speed, and the Ulfwerener is tougher as well, armor 9+, and strength 4. Now, what this roster does have is a Valkyrie as well, and a Yeti. So you get a proper mix of everything in this roster. Is that right? Does that add up? It does add up. All right, sweet. This is my roster. So 3 linemen, 2 Elf Warriors, 1 Valkyrie, and 1 Yeti. You get 1 Strength 5 Frenzy piece. You get 1 Ball Carrier, basically, with Pass and Catch for that stretch play. You get 2 Ulf Warriors to be your supporting heavy hitters. Now, this is a really strong roster. You can drop one of those down and take your second Valkyrie if you want, but I want 2 Strength 4 Frenzy, 1 Strength 5 Frenzy, 1 very capable potential dodge piece, 3 linemen who have access to every skill in the game, basically. Excellent setup here. Now, Yeti, taking skills, what have you got access to? Strength on a normal, so Mighty Blow is brilliant on a Yeti. They come with claws, okay? Claws, it breaks armor on everybody on an 8+, unless they've got Iron Hard Skin, which is a skill you will never see used. And actually in 7s you might have some random mutations, so yeah, potential, but it's fine. Mighty Blow, however, is going to help keep them down. So a Yeti with Mighty Blow is an excellent one. Now what you can do, because it's got which one has it got? Unchanneled Fury, which means it has to roll a 2+ to murder somebody and a 4+ to wander around. Having Juggernaut means you can get to make the most of that blitz. It means that on the Frenzy, on the blitz, both down, turn into a push, follow up, make another 2 or 3 die block, basically. So that can really help capitalize on your attacks. You've got some Ulfs. It's a great skill set for a Yeti to have. Now, if you end up somehow with a secondary skill floating around, Block or Pro on the Yeti, Block is just excellent. Spoiler alert. But there is nothing wrong with taking Mighty Blow or Jugs on that Yeti. Personally, I'd go Mighty Blow because, again, Claws, Mighty Blow, Strength 5 Frenzy is a heck of a skill set. That becomes a real beast to deal with. You've got that Valkyrie to be your ball handler, so sure hands on the ball is pretty good as well, especially in 7s. You get that extra few squares of movement. You've got 2 Ulf Warriors there who you can just turn into some of the biggest blitzers in the game, and you've got some of the better linemen kicking around as well, with Thick Skull to keep them there. Now, the team is going to be a little bit slower because they've got that Drunkard rule. You've got 1 Valkyrie, and the Yeti is slower at speed 5, so be prepared to just shield wall up for a bit and then go smash face. And the last roster we'll look at today is the Yeti reroll. We've looked at a roster with the Yeti, we've looked at a roster with a reroll. Rerolls being twice the price in 7s means that they are going to take the place of one of your great positional players, and that's exactly what we've got here. 600k on the nose, 7 players in this roster, 5 linemen, 1 Yeti, 1 Ulf Warrior, and that reroll caps it out. That reroll is going to help one of your players do something great each half. So that's actually a really solid investment. Do not use it on the Yeti. The loner will hurt you. The Yeti is going to be a great player. The Ulf Warrior is always a solid player. This roster relies more heavily on your linemen, which is a bit riskier now. You've got that Drunkard rule, which means you'll go for it's a failing on a 1 and a 2. So this roster is less powerful, but you do have the option to take the big guy, and that big guy's safety net called a reroll. But no surprise, Yeti Mix is a fantastic roster for 7s, and you can twist it a little bit to your taste as well. You've got 3 linemen, you've got no bench, so this is the vulnerability of this roster. What you do have is everything. You've got a big guy with claws who can murder the heck out of stuff. You've got 2 Ulf Warriors who are the fastest strength 4 players without being completely penalised on agility. They're Edge 4+, which is fine, okay? That'll work sometimes, all right? So they are excellent players. Frenzy as well just means they are so hard hitting. All of your linemen are great, and you've got 1 Valkyrie at movement 7 as well for a little bit of speed. It's lacking in block. You've got 3 guys with block though, so actually with a few skills here and there, this roster is going to start cooking. So if I was going to a 7s tournament, and we get to use the new Norse roster, and there's a 7s tournament coming up in Bromley actually, I'll be tempted to take this roster. I love it. You get Frenzy, big guy claws, you get block, you get the Valkyrie doing Valkyrie things. I think it's a great mix. Norse are looking like a brilliant team for 7s. I don't know if we're talking top 5 because they are a little bit low on the edge scale, but they've got so much punch, and I absolutely love it. Anyway, let me know what you think of Norse in Blood Bowl 7s because I am a huge fan. I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.
Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.